Hi there. Welcome to Sales Without the BS. I'm Troy Harrison, the Sales Navigator, and this is the first episode of my new weekly show on selling. And the reason I'm doing this is that, man, I get inspired about stuff, about sales all the time. I'm always thinking about it. I'm always experiencing it. I'm always seeing it. And this is an opportunity weekly for me to give you my insights on selling, and hey, for you to either, I don't know, clap back at me, comment back at me. So if you see something you like here, drop me a comment on something I'm saying, or like it, share it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, because we're gonna have good stuff every week that's going to help you make money, whether you're a salesperson, a sales manager, or a business owner. And with all that said, let's go ahead and dive in. I'll preview the show for you this time, since it is the first episode. We're going to have a main issue that we're going to talk about every week. And the main issue we're going to talk about this week is what everybody's talking about, and that is AI. I think my take's going to be a little bit different. During the middle of the show, we're going to have a section that I call From My Feed. And From My Feed is exactly what it sounds like. I see stuff on social media all the time, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, everything that inspires me for different content ideas. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to close out with the weekly tip, and that's going to take about a minute or less, and it's going to be something you can take and make money with right now. So with that, let's dive in. Let's talk about AI, because like I said, everybody's talking about it. I've got an opinion that I think a lot of people might not share, but I'm going to tell you what it is right now. I think that use of generative AI, and when I say generative AI, I mean that part of AI that people use to generate content, whether it's blog articles, videos, social media, whatever. I think that's going to peak in 2026. It's going to drop down, and it's going to reach a level, I don't know, maybe where we're at right now. Maybe we're early this year. But it's going to be less than wherever it is at its peak in 2026. Here's why. I'm seeing the rise of what I call AI skepticism, and you can see it everywhere. If somebody posts a video of something remarkable, by the third comment, somebody's going to be saying, that's AI. Or if you have a particularly well-written LinkedIn post, or a post with a particular format, somebody's going to say, that's AI. Or for that matter, the one that really inspired this was a post by someone on LinkedIn talking about her daughter's term paper in one of her college classes, where her college professor downgraded her because he said it was AI. There's a problem. It wasn't AI. She actually wrote it herself. And the incredible part was that the AI detector actually looked for things like grammatical errors, spelling errors, syntax errors. And if there weren't any, she got downgraded for it. And so she actually had to dumb her paper down to prove that it wasn't AI. Here's the thing. When people say, and you see it all the time, when people go, that's AI, they're never saying, hey, great job, man. You did a great job of using AI. No, what they're saying is, you're cheating. You're cheating because you're using AI to generate that content, whatever it was. They're calling it out as a negative. Here's why. As human beings, we still seek authenticity. As electronic as our world has gotten, as computerized as our world has gotten, as distant as our world has gotten through things like social media, people still seek that authentic person-to-person human contact. And if we're not giving it to them, they are going to suspect that we are cheating. What's the implications of that for sales? Well, the implications of that for sales going forward is that we want to make sure that our communications with our customers look, sound, feel, smell, and are authentic. Here's the trick. I use AI. I use AI all the time. I use AI probably every day to do one facet or another of my business, whether it is researching, or I do use AI to create content. I didn't use AI to create this video. Trust me, if I did, I'd have made myself better looking. but I do use AI. But yet I'm sitting here telling you that you have to make sure that your content, your messaging, your customer communications are authentic. How do we make those two pieces fit together? It's simple. Yeah, it's not simple, but it's doable. What you have to do is understand what AI is and how it does. AI is a channel. And the best way to think of AI, I've always said, is to think of AI as an intern. Matter of fact, it's the best intern you ever had. AI has this incredibly high IQ, higher IQ than most people do. We're talking Stephen Hawking level IQ. AI has 20 PhDs. But AI has no street smarts whatsoever. You take the absolute best intern you've ever had coming out of college. They're educated out the wazoo. They've got a great intellect, but they don't have any street smarts. And that is what we have to do, is teach them those street smarts, teach them what to do. Where people run into problems with AI is they're not combining authentic intelligence, i.e. their own gray matter, with the artificial intelligence. I see a lot of people that are just saying, hey, ChatGPT, give me 10 posts about closing sales, and then they roll with those 10 posts. That's not good use of AI. I use AI. Like I said, my preferred platform, if you're wondering, is Claude. Claude.ai, CLAUDE.ai. I get asked that every now and then. Please feel free. And I do use the paid version of it. I pay them $20 a month. And I use Claude to do a lot of different things. Again, research, content generation. But when I work with Claude, it is a conversation, just like I'd have with a human intern. I sit down and I say, okay, Claude, here's what I'm looking to do. And sometimes my prompts are longer than whatever content it is I'm trying to generate. But what Claude gives me the freedom to do is be somewhat stream of consciousness. And that's what makes it very time efficient on my part, is I don't have to invest a lot of time in formatting or syntax or those kind of things. But I tell Claude, here's what I want. And then Claude gives me a response. And a lot of times I'll say, okay, Claude, that wasn't bad, but here's what I'd like you to do. Refine it this way, tweak this. And then usually I take the final product, then I put it into a Word document, and then I'll edit it again to make it feel, sound, work like me. And is that time consuming? Yeah, it is. It's a hell of a lot more time consuming than just saying, hey, Claude, give me a couple of posts about closing sales. But it's authentic. It works well. And from time to time, I'll have people challenge me on an article and say, hey, you used AI to write that. And again, they're not saying, Troy, what a fantastic job you did of using AI. They're saying, you cheated. I said, okay, tell me what, some of this was AI, some of this was me. Tell me which parts. They really have a hard time. Sometimes they'll nail it, sometimes they won't. That is what I consider good AI. Bad AI is where you are just taking whatever AI gives you, not applying any authentic intelligence to it, and just rolling with it. So here's my perspective on AI, and here's why I think that it's going to peak in 2026. There's one big difference between AI skepticism and other tech skepticism that we've seen before. We've all seen tech skepticism. You know, people didn't like smartphones. There were people who were skeptical about the internet. I always like to say Nobel-winning economist Paul Krugman, not a big fan, said the internet was only going to be a fad and wouldn't have any measurable impact on our economy. Old Polly Boy has never actually retracted that statement either. What a dork. But here's what's different about that. Most past tech skepticism was driven by older generations who didn't like what they saw. This tech skepticism is driven by younger generations. Surveys show that the people most likely to be skeptical of content and most likely to say, hey, that's AI, are actually the younger generations, Generation Z and the tail end of the millennial generations. What that means for us is that AI skepticism isn't going to age out. It's going to age in. That's why I think that it's going to peak and go down. Because it's not the boomers and the Generation Xers who are driving AI skepticism, although most of us have developed a pretty good BS detector. Again, sales without the BS, right? But the real BS detectors are in the possession of the millennials and the Gen Zs. So AI skepticism is going to age in a lot more than it ages out. So the implications are going forward, make sure that when you use AI, and again, I recommend that you do, make sure that your authentic intelligence trumps artificial intelligence. And I think you're going to be fine. All right, now let's go to the second part of this. From my feed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few things that I found on social media and just discuss them real quick. All right, check this out. This actually goes along with the topic that we just discussed. Denmark proposes a copyright law that grants citizens ownership of their face, voice, and body to fight against AI deepfakes. Whew, that's a big issue. But I think it's an issue that we're going to see more and more of because, let's be honest with you, AI deepfakes are a problem. It would be very easy, for instance, for somebody to use my face and voice to create a video of me saying something that was completely opposite of what I thought. And this wasn't an issue a number of years ago, but I'll tell you what, I think this is going to be something that comes forward. What does that mean for us? Well, my opinion is that I think you've got to be very careful doing these kind of things because sooner or later, I think there's going to be some regulatory interference. But again, this is something to watch for. And I do see some people doing this. I actually see a lot of people creating AI deepfakes using their own face and voice in their own script. And that's something I'm staying away from right now. But again, I'd be very careful trying to do anything like this, even if it's your own face and voice going forward. Next one from my feed. Okay, this is a difficult one. This is a guy who posted, and this is a Reddit post on Reddit jobs. My dad died suddenly 2 years ago. My new job rescinded my position because I asked for an extension to my start date. And it's got a screenshot of the letter that he got below that. I'm very sorry to hear about your loss. Please accept our sincerest condolences during this difficult time. We completely understand and empathize with your situation. However, due to the operational needs of this critical role, we will not be able to postpone your start date beyond Monday, October 27th, 2025. If you are unable to begin on that date, we may need to proceed with another candidate to ensure business continuity. Man, that's hard. There's a lot that we don't know about the context here. Was this such a mission critical job that they literally couldn't wait a couple of days? I don't know. On this one, I really think some flexibility could have been applied, but sometimes this is what happens when you over proceduralize things. Some HR person may have just been going from a document that said, I've got to have somebody on Monday, October 27th. The good news is, I guess, that this person didn't actually put his new employer on blast. The only reason I'm bringing this up is to say that sometimes we can get locked into certain procedures, processes, rules, and then things happen that have to override those. I'd say let human compassion and human flexibility override the rule in that case. Final one from my feed is, and this, I actually made a post out of this one on LinkedIn, and this is from the president of a sales training company, and I'm not going to put him on blast. The screenshot is actually cropped so you can't see who it was, but here's what his conversation was. Dear sellers, here's a tip to be 5 times more effective with 20% of your current effort. Pick one communication channel at a time. Email, work voicemail, mobile voicemail, LinkedIn, InMail, and text all go to the same place. When you give the same bad reason to respond in 2 or 3 or more of these at the same time, I'm out. Pick one. Next time, try another. Less is more. Okay, here's my response on this. First of all, I have been preaching flexibility and versatility in communication. The truth of it is, when you are trying to reach out to someone, you don't know what they are looking for in terms of a communication channel. So I tell salespeople, if you have to leave a voicemail, give multiple forms of contact. Call me at this number, text me at this number, look me on LinkedIn, here's my email. It seems to me the crux of this really isn't the number of methods of response. It's, as he says, the same bad reason to respond. First of all, give a good reason to respond. Tell your prospect why they should talk to you in a very quick and concise fashion. Give a statement of expectations that says, here's the value you get from having a conversation with me. That's number one. And I think that's actually the real problem. I don't think it's a number of ways to respond. But here's the second issue. Sometimes you only get one shot. His presumption is that you're going to be able to call back or email back or whatever multiple times. I don't know that that's actually true. For instance, if you're doing a voicemail, if you give one voicemail that has a contact method that they don't prefer and then they hear your voice again, what's to say they're actually going to listen to the whole voicemail again to get a different form of contact? No, I think he's absolutely wrong. I think that's old thinking, presumption being on the idea that you're always going to be able to have a pathway to your prospect. Nowadays, in the digital age that we live in, your first shot could be your last shot. So I'm gonna fly against that. I'm gonna say give them multiple forms of contact and let them pick the ones that they want. By the way, we don't get responses on voicemails very often. Let's be honest. We don't get those active responses very often. But when we do, one thing I'm seeing is about half the time the response is a text message. So always make sure you give people an opportunity to respond by text. And that's not just the millennial and Generation Z. Even Generation X and some boomers are picking up on texting. It's a very efficient way to communicate. Make sure you give those opportunities to do that. All right, the quick tip. I want to talk about negotiation for a moment. I'm going to give this to you very quick. In any negotiation process, the person who has the power is the person who can walk away. Salespeople can have that power, and the best way to have power in negotiation is to have a full sales funnel. Don't ever let yourself get in the position of needing that next deal, because if you do, you're going to have to do whatever your customer wants or whatever your prospect wants just to try and snag that deal. Don't be that salesperson. Instead, have a full sales funnel so you can be ready to say, this isn't an acceptable deal. I'm going to walk away. Wish you all the best. Let me know if we can work together on terms that are more mutually acceptable. All right. Now that's edition 1 of Sales Without the BS. Most of these are just going to be me. Sometimes I may have a guest on. You never know, as long as they're a no BS person as well. So if you watched all that, I thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you again. Remember, subscribe to my channel. Like this. Drop me a comment. I'm not even afraid of debate for anything that I said. So thank you very much. These are going to be a weekly episode, and I will see you next time. I'm Troy Harrison, the Sales Navigator. Have a great week.